Have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered, when did they stop seeing me? Not just my face, not my body, but me, the real me. What if I told you that the world doesn't stop seeing you because you've changed, but because it never truly knew how to look in the first place? This isn't just a video. It's a wake-up call. A story for anyone who's ever felt overlooked, misunderstood, or defined by appearances instead of essence. And especially for men over 50, it holds something even more powerful, a key to connection you didn't know you were missing. Because there's a truth no one tells us about beauty, aging, and what women truly crave, and it's not what you think. In a peaceful valley where the sun painted the fields in soft gold, there lived a woman named Miriam. She moved gently through her days, never loud, never trying to be seen. But somehow, everyone noticed her. It wasn't her words, it wasn't even her presence, it was her body, full, curved, naturally captivating, but the attention she received wasn't rooted in admiration. It was speculation, quiet judgments whispered behind half smiles. She must be aware of her power, some said. Women like her always know how to use it, others added. Yet no one asked her who she really was. No one wondered what made her laugh late at night or which poems she kept folded in the drawer next to her bed. They didn't see the way she paused before entering a room, preparing herself for the gaze that would arrive before the conversation ever started. And that's the danger of surface-level perception. You become a character in a story someone else wrote. Miriam felt it every day. The weight of being noticed but never understood, admired but not known. And in that tension, she became more silent. What happens to a person when their body speaks louder than their soul? They shrink, not in size, but in spirit. That was Miriam's quiet heartbreak. She wasn't just seen, she was mis-seen. People assumed they understood her because they saw her figure, but no one asked about her fears, or the dreams she buried after being laughed at once, or the songs she hummed when walking alone at sunset. But one person noticed. Her name was Elsie. Elsie was in her 70s, sharp-minded, soft-spoken, with eyes that seemed to recognize pain even when no one else saw it. She had lived through decades of being misunderstood, not because she didn't speak, but because the world had stopped listening long ago. She saw Miriam and felt something stir, because the silence Miriam carried was too familiar. Elsie knew that silence. She had walked through it in her own youth, in the years after childbirth, in the quiet after heartbreak, and especially during the invisible fog of menopause when the world stopped calling her beautiful. So she reached out, gently, without asking too many questions. And Miriam, though hesitant, responded, because when someone finally sees the real you, even a glance can feel like a warm embrace. One morning, they sat together under a weathered walnut tree, where the wind whispered through the leaves like a forgotten lullaby. Miriam looked down at her hands. "Is this all they ever see?" she asked. "Just my body?" Elsie smiled, not with pity, but with knowing. She reached over and held Miriam's hand, not to fix her, but to remind her. "They see what they've been taught to see," Elsie said softly. "But that doesn't mean that's all there is." "You are not your figure," she continued. "You are the way your voice trembles when you talk about what you love. You are the comfort you give to others even when you're breaking inside. You are the grace in your presence, the patience in your silence, the strength in your survival." And then she said something Miriam never forgot. Real beauty doesn't shout. It stays. Because when people feel safe in your presence, when your energy is warm and non-judgmental, they remember that more than any curve, line, or glance. For men listening, especially those over 50, this is where the learning begins. There's something no one teaches us growing up. That true attraction isn't about youth or perfection. It's about emotional resonance. What most women over 45 crave isn't a man who can impress them. It's a man who can feel them. When you listen without fixing, see her without labeling, and love her without conditions, something magical happens. Her guard drops. Her softness returns. Her sensuality awakens. Not because you gave her permission, but because you made her feel safe. That's the secret so many men never learn. Women aren't looking for knights. They're looking for mirrors, people who reflect their depth, not just their looks. Because after a certain age, something incredible happens inside a woman. She deepens. Her compassion grows. Her sense of self becomes stronger. Her desires become clearer. And yet the world often looks past her at the very moment she becomes her most powerful. But you don't have to. Miriam's story began to shift. Not because the people in the village changed, but because she stopped needing their validation. Her beauty was no longer something to prove, it was something she simply carried. She began to stand taller, laugh more, say no when it mattered, yes when it felt right. And Elsie noticed. One afternoon, she said, "You walk differently now." Miriam smiled. "I feel seen, not by everyone, but by myself." That's the moment many people miss in life. Not when the world sees you differently, but when you do. Because the minute you stop trying to be understood by those committed to misunderstanding you, you gain something far more valuable, peace. And with peace comes clarity. For the men watching, especially those wondering how to rekindle connection with a partner who's grown distant, or how to start something real with someone new, here's what you need to understand. Your presence is your power, not your money, not your car, not your six-pack. Your ability to be here, to notice, to care. When a woman feels emotionally safe, everything changes. Her smile becomes real. Her touch becomes inviting. Her desire becomes electric. This isn't theory. It's biology. Studies show that when a woman feels emotionally supported, her cortisol, the stress hormone, drops. Her oxytocin, the love hormone, rises. This creates a cascade of positive effects: better sleep, more energy, stronger immunity, even a healthier libido. In simple terms, when she feels seen, she feels alive. And when she feels alive, she wants to share that energy with you. So the next time you look at your partner or meet a woman who's carrying years of invisible weight, don't just compliment her looks, compliment her strength, her resilience, her grace under pressure. Ask her what lights her up, what scares her, what makes her feel free. Don't just listen, lean in. Because when a woman feels understood, she opens, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, energetically. And what she gives you from that space is unlike anything you've ever known. It's in those moments, when she finally feels safe to be herself, that you get to experience the most intimate, powerful version of her, not the version shaped by the expectations of society or by years of guarding herself from shallow attention, but the version that was always there, waiting for someone to look deeper. That's what most men miss. They chase the outer glow, not realizing that true radiance begins on the inside. And if you want to be the man she lets in, not just to her body, but to her heart, then you need to lead with curiosity, not control, presence, not performance, because women over 45 have spent years learning to read energy. They know when a man is performing. They know when he's only there for what's convenient. But they also know, instantly, when a man shows up with depth, sincerity, and patience. And once they feel that, they'll give you a kind of love that is richer, more grounded, and more soul-shaking than anything surface-level attraction could ever offer. Back in that quiet village, something beautiful happened. Miriam started teaching painting classes for women who had stopped creating because someone once told them they weren't good enough. She didn't teach technique, she taught freedom, flow, feeling. And in every class, a small miracle unfolded. Women who had once been silent began to laugh, cry, share. They painted sunsets that looked like their childhoods, oceans that reminded them of old love, abstract storms that carried decades of emotion. And Miriam would smile, not because she was the center of attention, but because she had finally found her place, not for how she looked, but for what she gave. That's the magic right there. When a woman stops trying to be seen and starts trying to express, she becomes limitless. And if you're a man wise enough to stand beside her, not above her, not in front of her, but with her, you'll discover a level of intimacy that most people only dream of. You'll hear the unspoken music in her silence, you'll feel the fire behind her stillness, and you'll know what it means to be chosen, not for what you offer, but for who you are. So many men ask, how do I make her want me again? How do I rebuild connection after years of drifting apart? How do I meet someone new when I feel invisible at this age? The answer isn't in changing who you are. It's in remembering who you are. You're not past your prime. You're just past the performance. This is the stage of life where truth becomes attractive, where calm is more powerful than charisma, where presence is more seductive than charm. If you want to connect with a woman over 45 or reignite the flame in your existing relationship, start here. 1. Ask deeper questions. Not, how was your day, but what's been sitting on your heart this week? 2. Compliment more than her appearance. Tell her you admire her courage, her discipline, her ability to forgive. 3. Touch with intention, not to initiate, not to escalate, but just to be there, to say, I see you, I'm with you. 4. Honor her past. Don't compete with it. Learn from it. Let it show you who she's become. 5. Be patient. The most beautiful parts of a woman are revealed slowly. If you rush, you'll miss them. This is your moment, brother, to step into a new way of loving, a deeper way of seeing, a truer way of showing up, not just for her, but for you. Because when you begin to appreciate the beauty in a woman's presence instead of her performance, you'll start to do the same for yourself. You'll stop chasing youth and start embracing wisdom. You'll stop competing with other men and start connecting with your own purpose. You'll stop fearing time and start honoring it. Let me leave you with this. There's a reason women like Miriam are unforgettable. It's not their shape. It's not their style. It's the way they make you feel when you're with them. Calm, grounded, seen. And that energy, that's what beauty really is. It doesn't age. It deepens. Months passed. The village grew warmer as spring rolled in, and with it came a gentle buzz of life, flowers pushing through old soil, laughter echoing down cobblestone streets, and the smell of baked bread floating from open windows. Miriam's art classes had become a quiet revolution, not just for the women who attended, but for the men who began to notice something different in the air. It wasn't just the colors on canvas that changed, it was the energy. You could feel it in the way couples held hands again after years of silence, in the way older women walked with their heads just a little higher, in the way men started listening, not just hearing, but truly listening to the stories held in their wives' eyes. And then one morning, something small happened that said everything. Miriam was sipping coffee on her porch when a man from the village, one she'd known from afar but never truly spoken to, walked up holding something wrapped in cloth. "I've been watching your classes from a distance," he said, sheepishly. "Didn't think anyone like me belonged in a space like that. But then I realized, maybe that's the problem. I've been standing outside my whole life." He handed her the bundle. Inside was a painting, rough, unpolished, but alive. It showed a woman standing at the edge of the ocean, her hair blowing back, her face calm, strong, unashamed. "It's not great," he said, "but it's what I see when I see you." Miriam didn't speak. She didn't need to, because in that moment she felt something no mirror could give her. No scale, no magazine cover, no compliment from a passing stranger. She felt seen, not for her past, not for her body, but for her presence. And for the first time in a long time, she let a man see her smile. All the way from the inside out. Here's what I hope you take from this, whether you're a man searching for love, or a woman wondering if your beauty still has meaning in a world obsessed with youth. Know this, real connection doesn't come from perfection. It comes from presence. The kind of presence that says, I see you exactly as you are, and I choose you anyway. That's what makes a woman unforgettable. That's what makes a man irresistible, and that's what builds the kind of love that lasts, not in years, but in soul memory. So wherever you are in your journey, whether you're starting again, healing from loss, or simply craving something real, don't look out there. Look here, within. Because the greatest beauty you'll ever witness is the one that unfolds when you stop performing and start being. And when two people meet in that space, that's not just love. That's home.